This is Douglas Montagna from Grand Valley State, and I have the pleasure to speak with Charles Swendson, who is a veteran who served on the USS Haddock and also the USS Silversides during World War II. He is is gracious enough to give us a guided tour of the United States Silversides. And I thought we could start by just telling us what that is, what right behind you.
Okay. Dad?
That,
Yeah, but how about the deck gun?
yeah, that.
Well, it was a 3-inch gun when I first knew the Silversides, and then they changed it to a bigger bore so they could do a better job of shooting up these Japanese radar picket boats and other smaller craft.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things it did, besides shoot the torpedoes.
Okay.
You told me one time they made these things out of stainless steel sometimes?
Yeah, a lot of the trimming on the outside.
Did you knew how to work all the guns and all the equipment on the ship?
No, I had no business fooling with one of these.
Okay. Okay, might as well this way.
I did the radio and sound gear work, but I didn't do the actual shooting.
Okay.
So you work sonar?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Dad, were you on board when Mike Harbin was killed?
No, it was the first.
Did you know
Mike Harbin?
Harbin on the first war patrol?
The guy that got shot.
Oh, no, that was the first patrol, yeah.
Okay, here we get some emblems or symbols of their war record, and Charles could perhaps tell us a little bit about what these different emblems and symbols mean.
These are merchant ships, and this are warships.
Okay. Those are damaged.
Just push it back, raise the bill up a little bit more, so I can get a little more sun on your face.
Raise your hat up, Dad.
Okay.
There you go. That looks good. That's great. You looking okay from here? Yeah, that's a good shot right there. As soon as I can get him out of my picture screen. Very good. Very good.
Carefully slid down these chutes. Every time we went on a patrol run, we had to ensure they had a good load.
And how many guys would it take to load a torpedo on?
Well, it'd probably be all the torpedo men, about 6 of them, and some other deck crew. One on here in a crane with a cable.
Mm-hmm.
Was on here, and they had to be handled carefully, of course.
Okay.
Kept this lubricated and slide it right down in there.
Okay. Okay, now we're below decks with Mr. Swendsen.
Does it smell the same?
Pretty much so. Depends on where and when you work. There's a shower.
Did you get 1 gallon of water to take a shower or something?
No, took all you wanted.
Okay.
Remember the instructions for flushing the toilet were pretty complicated.
Yeah, we'll go through that out to cruise quarters.
So what happened, if you did the toilet wrong, what happened?
It'd blow up in your face.
It'd be coming this way instead of that way.
You had to do it right, or shoot it, or it would be a mess.
About how many men were on the ship, typically?
80-some.
Okay.
These old torpedo ones slept up here.
Can you show us where you slept? Where your bunk
Back
was?
in the after battery.
Okay. So, that's where the
Put it in reverse, back up, so we'd give it the gravity thing to fall out.
Because it had hot run in the tube, it was armed.
It was armed, right?
Yeah, it could have been bad.
Remember how many torpedoes you would have on board when you would head out for a tour?
The 24, I think, altogether.
Oh, wow.
And excuse me, the forward torpedo room had more than the after torpedo room. So this was the big armored part of the whole boat.
I bet it was a chore getting the torpedoes up from the deck plates and the ones that are under.
Right.
Oh, the torpedoes are underneath here?
Two of the tubes are below the floor. See, here's.
And those torpedoes weren't very reliable either, were they?
Well, early in the war, they were. It was he said that the Japs weren't sinking any more subs because they were setting their depth charges too shallow. But then bingo, they knew, then they really got after it. And the torpedoes weren't functioning like they wanted them to because they wouldn't go down deep. They finally had to get that corrected. That's quite a lot ways into the war before they got that solved. But it finally came to pass where they were really doing their job.
What did it sound like? Like when you were cruising, say on the surface, and you were in this compartment? Could you hear the ocean on the outside?
Yeah.
To a certain degree, but it wasn't all that.
Different ballgame coming down these steps now.
Especially when you're on the surface in the calm sea, it was real quiet. You could sleep real good anyway.
What did it sound like when they charged?
You bet.
What did that sound like?
Just take it one step at a
Depth
time, come
charges.
on.
You mean to tell me they had a hurry on the steps?
Yeah, when they hurried, they didn't go down the steps, they just hung on to two rails and slipped.
He wanted to know what it was like when you were being depth charged.
Huh?
Sounds like
Was it?
somebody was shooting a shotgun right beside your head.
That loud?
Depending on how close the
Okay.
depth charges
No, I'm just
were.
fine.
But they made a lot of noise. That water doesn't compress, you know, it's just solid, and any sound out there just travels. And there was, the depth charge went off, it was, like I said, a shotgun just right outside.
That sounded like a loud crack, huh?
Yeah. It would, and there'd be some damages done to the sub in some places. Some equipment might get damaged, and, so some outboard equipment could be damaged, 'cause they were a tough explosion.
Yeah.
The books say that you could hear the primer going off before the explosion.
Yeah.
It would reach you. You could hear that sound first, and you could kind of tell how far away the depth charge was by the
Yeah.
interval between them.
You could hear a click,
Okay.
and it would be an indication of how soon you're gonna hear the bad noise.
Yeah. What'd you do then? Hold on.
Oh, just do what you're supposed to be doing.
If it's holding on, you hold on.
Always do your job first.
Everybody has a
That's
job.
great.
What was the longest period you were subject to depth charge attacks where it was constant? Like ever for hours or days even?
Well, several hours of, I was on two different subs, and they both had to lay on the bottom for a while where they were dropping those things. So it was a hazardous time, but if you lived to talk about it,
That was
make it
good.
out.
That was good.
Right,
Well, this was the lucky boat, right?
right.
You were on two different subs?
Yes, I was
What
on
was the other sub you were on?
Haddock,
The Haddock?
yes.
Okay,
Haddock.
okay.
Davenport was the executive officer here, right?
Yeah,
And then he came and got you to go on the Haddock after you went to radio school, right?
right.
Now, did the Haddock survive or did it go down?
Well, I was on it at the end of the war.
Okay.
My dream all through the war was I'd be in San Francisco when the war was over for the big celebration.
Gotcha.
We were just off the coast of China. So we brought the Haddock back to Hawaii, and got there and they said, "You gotta take it back to Staten Island, New York." We're going to what do I want to say?
Decommission it or?
Decommission that
How
town.
long does it take to get from Hawaii to Staten Island in a submarine?
Quite a ride. We didn't have to worry about being topside, so we was on the surface. So I took some radio speakers up topside, so we'd be laying up there in the foredeck listening to music and stuff as we were going. So I had to go over through the Panama Canal and then around and back up to Staten Island.
How long would your patrols be when you would go
2
down?
months.
2 months? Okay.
So we come into for R&R, and they'd be 3 weeks, go back out again.
They're designed for 75 days, average 62 days.
Yeah.
Okay. What about when you guys made an attack on a ship when Burlingame was here? How did that? Who found the ship first? Did you hear it on the sonar first, or radar, or how did you?
Could be the
lookout?
There were 4 lookouts and an officer of the deck. But they were always watching, and that black officer's mess attendant.
Roy.
Yeah, he could see in the dark real good. So every once in a while he'd pass the word, "Delivered to the conning tower." So he'd go up and he'd get clear on the very top of the A-frames, and he could see stuff up there that a lot of other guys couldn't see. So he had a special job. And,
Okay, so when you spotted one, then how did it work after that? When somebody first spotted one, what happened after that?
well, the captain was called to the conning tower, and they go up in the compartment up there where the
Periscope?
periscopes are,
Conning tower.
and they're in the conning tower, and then they usually be the executive officer and another officer, and the captain would be looking through the periscope, and he'd be giving different angles and dimensions that he saw, and they'd put into a torpedo data computer device. And that was planned and plugged into the torpedoes. So they would be set to go a certain angle after they had gone out so far.
Well, they'd turn after they went out.
They'd turn on their own, because they'd been programmed for that.
Okay.
And then they would, of course, do their job or miss their target. And there was so they maybe say they shot 3 torpedoes in two of them may hit the target and one would miss. Or if there are two targets out there, they might hit both of them or miss one of them. It was just whatever the conditions were, they functioned properly or they didn't.
And then you could hear them hit. Could you hear the ship break up then too if you hit them? Or?
There'd be an explosion noise from the torpedo, and if it was doing its job, well, you could hear the crackling of the breaking up of the ship or the target.
What did you guys do then?
Yeah.
Then they dove.
There was some of that. Yeah.
After you did an attack, were you then more likely to be attacked after that?
Yes,
Okay.
because these little big ships that you sunk were being guarded by destroyers or other ships, so they would get a little angry about it and start dropping depth charges and stuff.
So what did you do to evade that?
Oh, you go down
Just take off and
and change your course. Each one was a different situation.
And how far down would you go?
One time on Silversides, we would deep side, remember it would be about 300 feet. And Haddock we down to 400, and a couple times I remember.
And the depth charges could get you down there. You couldn't outdive
They
the depth
wouldn't
charges.
be as severe
Okay.
down there
Okay.
because of the depth would insulate it.
the depth charges that would hurt you would go off underneath you. If they went off above you, it didn't hurt you so bad.
Not so bad. It'd be sound, and if it was real close, of course, it would be severe, but if it was normal, if it was right down below you in an area, most of the water force would go up, and you'd have that experience.
And what did you do after you got out of a depth charge attack or sunk somebody? What you used to tell us what Burlingame used to do after a run.
Well, they'd put together a message and relay it to Pearl Harbor or to San Francisco, experiencing what you've just been through and done.
But then Burlingame used to go back to his quarters and you guys would line up, right? With the glass?
Well, he would get on the speaker and he said, "Now, hey, you guys, you got shaking nerves from what we just been through, and you need something to calm down. Come on up to my room." So we come up here, and he'd be sitting there with a bottle of rye whiskey and a glass. And he'd say, "How much do you need?" My first mistake was I said, "Don't run it over." He laughed. He filled that thing clear full. But you had to stay there and talk to him about what you were doing during the experience. And but you had to drink every drop in that glass. So it was an effort to get back to our
What was Burlingame like?
He was just like one of the crew.
You're fine.
Real nice guy. Like we said, Waikiki, he'd be out there swimming and wave for him, come over and swim with him. But he was, for being a captain of a ship of any kind, he was unusual.
Did he stay at the Royal Hawaiian with the enlisted men? I mean, did the officer stay at the Royal Hawaiian with the enlisted
Oh,
men?
yeah. They lived about the same way we did.
Exactly.
But he was pretty cool though, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, yeah, he was a neat guy.
But I mean, under pressure, he was just,
Oh, yeah. You know, most of the skippers were.
Was he older than most of the men? Was he older than most of the men on the ship?
Yeah, he would have been. He was, I suppose, I don't know when he,
How old were you on the Silversides?
I was 20, I don't know, about 27, 26.
Wow.
Okay.
So I was one of the older ones.
and why did you want to be on a submarine instead of something else?
I just can't remember exactly, but it was my only interest in being on a submarine.
But you thought it was gonna be safer though, didn't you, being under the water?
That's right. Well, it's that and interested in doing a job for the war. The biggest thing was that there was a lot of guys going to the war, going in the army, and I didn't have any part of that. But I'd been interested in the Navy. You know, right after I got out of high school, I went and tried to join the Navy, but I was too small and scrawny. They didn't want me, so I didn't get in then. So it was after the war started. I went and I had to go to Perry, Iowa, to be relieved from the draft corps, so I could go and volunteer or something. So went up to Perry, and our mayor of Dallas Center was the head of the draft corps for Dallas County. So I come in this room full of guys that getting their draft things set up. And Oscar said, "Well, hi, Charlie, come in." So I come in, and he said, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, I want to get relieved from the draft board so I can join the Navy." He said, "No way, you're going in the Army." He'd been in the Rainbow Division of World War I. And he said, "You're going in the Army." I said, "No, I don't want to do this." He said, "You're going in." And I was mad. So I opened the door to go back outside, and there was a mop bucket with a mop in it, water. And I was so mad, I kicked that bucket, and the water flew all over. And down the hallways, here was this guy, and he said, "What's the trouble with you?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to get relieved from the draft," but they wouldn't do it. He said, "He pulled that again." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, a week ago, a guy came on, he was mad because he couldn't get relieved. And he said, but I knew this guy up at the Prairie paper, the newspaper, that had the same problem. And he, to the editor, so he went and talked to him. The editor had been a Navy officer in years past, so he said that guy got him relieved. I said, "Well, I'll go up and do the same thing if I can." So I went up there, and it took about half an hour for the editor could get out to see me. We sat there and had a nice visit, and I told him, he says, "He pulling that crap again." So we got on the telephone and called Oscar. And he said, "Got a guy here who wants relief from the draft board, and you know damn well you better get it done or you're in a heap of trouble." So he said, "Oh, okay, I'll send you back down." So I went back down there. Now this Oscar been a good friend of mine, but I come in there and he just threw my papers at me. He said, "Get out of here." So I got so that was the way I joined the Navy.
Never easy.
Should we go back to the radio room and show us how all that stuff worked?
Prepared after we brought up from Armat.
How'd you like the food?
Couldn't be better. It was good. This is all officers' quarters.
Do you guys have music and movies and stuff on deck?
I bet, yeah. This is the chief's quarters here, in here,
So 3 guys would sleep in that room.
yeah. There'll be 4 in here.
Wow.
Oh, this is awesome.
This was the office for the clerk.
Did anyone ever get hurt scrambling through here? Like tripping and...
Oh, yeah. Nothing serious that I ever saw.
But you did some bumps and bruises.
You just bump your head or something.
Yeah. I probably would do that.
This is a compass,
Okay.
and that was translated to various places on the sub. And there was the helm over there.
Shall we ring the dive alarm?
Go right ahead. I'm ready.
Sounds familiar?
There she goes.
Were you on the planes? Did you ever,
I was on this one time, but I wasn't big enough to really turn that thing as fast as it should be, but, so I got a guy come and relieved me, then I went back and, it was just during a battle situation. So that's hard work.
So, when you were in battle, who was in here?
Or there was 3 guys that managed that manifold over there, and there'd be 2 guys on those wheels, and bow planes and stern planes, and be another. Well, the chief of the boat would be here. He controlled these gizmos over here. And we changed some of these things for radar and radio power stuff.
What's this? Compass. What, how did this thing work, Dad? What did this do?
That's a compass, tells you what direction you're going.
Well, but it was a gyroscope involved with it or anything, or did this have anything to do with keeping the boat?
No.
No, okay, it's just a
Just
compass,
to
okay.
tell you what direction you were going, and it was also relayed from here to the conning tower, and both torpedo rooms.
On here it says the master compass, which means
Yeah.
it was a gyroscope and a compass.
Okay.
Right.
well, after depth charging, these things would get off spin sometimes, wouldn't they?
Right. They could be disturbed.
You used to do a lot of that marlin spike seamanship there.
Yeah.
Was it common for most of the surfaces and railings to be covered with that stuff? Because you're good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them are, it was like there, that thing was turned a lot, so it had to have a good gripping surface. So it was,
And was it on this boat that the diving planes got jammed, or was that on the Haddock? This one?
I can't remember, I think it's on the Haddock. This is over there, they call it the Christmas tree. There are lights underneath those panels would be on or off, depending on whether it should be or shouldn't be. So usually the chief of the boat would be over there controlling all those levers. And he'd do that depending on whatever light was on or off on that.
Couldn't dive till you had a green board.
You know.
How long did it take to dive, once you blew all once you filled all the tanks from, till you were underwater, from the time you decided to go under, how long would that take?
Well, you get down pretty fast, because they had these diving planes, would depend on their angle, set them to go down real fast and stuff, or go down slowly. So it'd be pretty fast movement if you wanted to get out of the surface in a hurry.
Would it be like a minute, do you think?
Be what?
A minute?
Oh, it'd take a little more than a minute.
Okay, when did you pick up the fishing net? How did that end up happening?
That was the first patrol run. It was on this Haddock, or the Silversides here. We surfaced, and pretty soon there was a voice come down the speaker and said, "We got a problem on top side." So I just had me go through here and chief of the boat grabbed my arm and said, come on, you're going with me, guys, up topside. So we went down here, going up through the conning tower, and here was this great big jam fishing net, strung up almost over the full length of the sub. It was screwed up all out there, and so we got up there and pulled that thing loose and put it over in the water. I actually thought, why did I have a souvenir of this? So I cut off about a 12 to 15 foot length of that cord that had been treated with some kind of anti-rot stuff. And so I still have that at home. I meant to bring it with me to this day. Forgot.
Did you make a Turk's head out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So that was one exciting day.
One of many.
This is the device that's helped in navigation. They could read directions and with that. A key to send messages with. You can also hear the signal through the radio that was on the shelf there.
And you worked in there?
Yes.
Okay.
And the conning tower, we have our sonar.
Dad, when you were on the hydrophone?
Where all our good food was cooked. And the coffee urn had one restriction, it was never empty. You always had to have some coffee, and it was there. Once in a while they had to clean it, so they drain out the coffee, put it on the stove in the kettle. Well, you got that all cleaned up. So we were never out of coffee.
What was the food like on board? Was it pretty good?
It's better than I get at home. And that's top shelf. So.
How did the shift work? Was it like 8 hours on, 8 hours off?
Yeah. 8-hour shifts. They used to have a shelf on these tables. Cribbage, poker on payday.
How'd you get paid out to sea?
Well, you got paid when you came in.
Oh, I see.
Age at port, so you go spend it, right?
Right.
Was Mamie Stover working when you got to Hawaii or not?
What's that?
Mamie Stover, was she working when you were in Hawaii? Did you ever hear of her?
No.
Okay, I'll let that one go.
I know what you're talking about.
I hear you, Chief.
Down below here was
Have you ever heard of her?
a cool room where the food like meat and stuff had to be preserved. Down below here.
Here's the entrance.
Yeah, here's a cool room door, hatch right here, Dad.
There's a cool room, and behind it was a freezer. And ahead of that was the, where they kept all the shells.
Right, the ammunition was up here, single, so at Battle Church, had 2 guys down there and 2 up here catching those shells, and they were pretty heavy, so I didn't do that.
Where'd you guys store the water?
Water,
You had a still.
I think
On the outside.
we made our own water.
Well, the evaporators.
About, yeah.
I really can't tell you where the fresh water tank was.
The evaporators are in the engine room, so the water tanks are somewhere in that area.
Okay. So they always had water then, they have to worry about that.
Hatch here, and the hatch in the fore torpedo room, and the hatch in the after torpedo room. And this is the one that's used mostly because it cuts right down here, you can go either way. And it was, as you can see, it's pretty well polished. There's just some bodies rubbing on it. And the one in the forward torpedo room was used for an escape hatch, like you can put on a Momsen lung, and they had air hoses in there to inflate these lungs with. And you can put that lung on and mouthpiece, and then go out the side door of that hatch. And it would give you access to going to the top with the lung on.
What's this thing that says ammunition scuttle right there?
Oh, shoot.
Well, that's what you were saying where you passed the ammunition up when they were on battle surface, right?
That makes sense.
I forget what this thing is.
That's where they put the shells from down in the storage up through here to the deck
Oh,
that sticks
yeah.
out on deck.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow, okay.
Now, when they did the appendectomy, they didn't do that in here, did they?
On the officers.
Now, were you guys, didn't you get attacked right after the appendectomy, pretty soon after?
Yeah, we had quite a hog wrestle afterwards.
Quite a what?
We were depth charged.
Hog wrestle, Iowa.
Hog wrestle.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's an Iowa term, hog wrestling.
Now, who performed the appendectomy on someone?
Our pharmacist mate, he's a 21-year-old guy.
Oh, wow.
And it was the third one that had been performed on submarines that time, and they had a total of 7 of them through the war.
So there'd be a pharmacist on board, and he'd be
Yeah.
like the medical guy, like any medical
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah, yeah. One time I was getting pretty skinny, and the captain told me, he said, "You gotta eat more." I said, "I eat all I can hold." So he told the first me, he said, "You got some of those IQS pills, iron, quinine, and sulfate, supposed to accelerate your appetite." He said, he eats some of those. So every once a day I come up here to the water fountain, take one of those pills, and he'd have to be there giving them to me. So I don't know if they ever did any good. I was still skinny, but so anyway, that was one way they looked after us.
Well, how long, when they did the operation, didn't you say that ether got through the boat? Ether?
Yeah, see, he gave him the spinal, and the spinal wore off. So then they had to give him ether, and he's got to swing his arms around and hit the ether thing, and the ether fuse went clear through the sub. It didn't hurt anybody, but it was kind of stinky.
Well, and you were submerged, so you,
Yeah, right.
you couldn't surface.
There's no place for it to go.
Make you feel woozy or something?
But
Did it make you feel kind of woozy?
no, it just something you got to thinking about though. It could have, because we knew what it was.
Oh.
So then after it was over, didn't, you guys got depth charge right after it was over, didn't you? He get knocked out of bed,
It's a bomb.
the kid or
Yeah,
something?
Fortunately, I had to sit there and hold him, and it could have been more serious than it was. But, so
You held him? Was it? Or what held him?
Pharmacist.
pharmacist
Oh,
mate.
okay.
So what was your favorite meal in here?
Oh, the evening chow was probably the big thing. But every morning we had waffles or pancakes or scrambled eggs or it fit us real good. And noon we just had pretty high class dinners, and at night it was just out of this world.
Just on patrol too? Even? Oh yeah.
They had 2
Yeah.
cooks and a baker. 2 cooks and a baker.
Right.
When I was growing up, I remember you liked Tabasco sauce on your eggs.
Right.
You remember why that was?
That's what we had here.
What you told me was that the eggs started getting a little off towards the end of the patrol, so you could kill the taste with the Tabasco sauce.
Well, the chief of the boat, Andy Anderson, for some reason, he and I sat back over there, meals, and we always had Tabasco sauce on the tray here, and it was just 4 eggs. The food was really great.
Have a lot of steaks.
You know, steaks any way you want them. And there'd be sometimes great, nice roast. They had all kinds of good food down in this cool room.
Where was the coffee urn? Is it back there?
Yeah.
Was the coffee as strong? You've always liked strong coffee.
Yeah, it was good. And it was had a rule that coffee or never was to be empty. It was always supposed to be coffee, because somebody's always going by needing a cup of coffee. And if they had to clean that urn out, they'd have a big pitcher of coffee on the stove in there, keep it warm until they get the urn cleaned out, because he never was out of coffee.
Did the guys get along? I mean, did you guys have real good, tight camaraderie and everything on board?
Never did I ever see anybody fight. Every once in a while there'd be some little sassy discussions, but when you went to submarine school, you were psychologically analyzed. And if you showed any signs of having a temper, why,
They're gone.
you're out.
Yeah, I heard one of the gentlemen who served on the submarine said that they would check your fingernails, and if they found that you chewed your fingernails, you were too much of a nervous type,
Yeah,
and they didn't want you on board.
Yeah, if you weren't, I shouldn't say it, but perfect attitude, why, you got,
Wasn't a place for you.
you know, your sexual interests were carefully analyzed.
Right. Did you have ice cream?
Oh, of course.
Did you have ice cream? Because I know some of the early boats didn't have an ice cream maker.
Oh, well, they finally put it in, well, where those cabinets are now. But it was, you tried out, they opened it, it made this, ice cream was just half liquid almost. So it was good ice cream.
Cool. When they cooked, did the fumes get throughout the whole boat?
Oh, yeah. Nice smelly stuff.
Well, and the smoking lamp was lit too, right? So you
Yeah.
could smoke down.
No, well, there'd be some times that it was lit and sometimes it
It wasn't lit under the surface, was it? When you were below, you didn't have it lit, did you? Just
No,
on the
you could
surface?
smoke when you're down.
No, when the boat was below the surface.
Yeah,
You could smoke then?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, usually it was, if you were in a combat situation, they'd pass the word, the smoking lamp is out.
Yes.
But quite often you can sit down and have a cigarette if you want to. When they opened up a patrol run, they'd pass a slip out, and you'd write on it what kind of cigarettes you wanted and how many. And you get them by the carton, free.
Wow, free.
Yeah.
They didn't cause cancer back then.
Oh,
Right.
Most doctors said so.
Most of the guys smoked, right? That's pretty
Yeah.
common.
Most of them smoked. That was about 2 or 3 years or more after the war when I finally quit.
Good for you.
Did you have a record player, music?
Yeah. It was Haddock, we had it bound right over there. And the Silversides was in the radio room, I think.
Well, in that picture, you can see it. That picture's a lot larger in the museum. Right in the corner of that picture, you can see the record player up there.
when we brought the Haddock back to the States, we'd get up on the front deck and ride in the sunshine, and so I wired the speakers up top side so we could be going along with this, float on the water with the music and stuff. So.
Wow.
And your bunk was clear back there though, Dad, right?
Yeah, my first bunk was right down there. Wasn't very good.
There's 32 other guys sleeping in here.
A lot of foot traffic going by there.
Here, let me get it.
Excuse me. On the Haddock, I got that bunk back up there.
Trouble sleeping or not really? You guys were so busy and tired that you fell right asleep?
Well, it wasn't bad places to sleep. So, as you can see, there's been a body on this one.
This is the one he
Hi.
hit first, right?
Dad, I remember you telling me the explanation for waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah,
Is that in here?
Well, could be any place where there's a bunk.
Or senior, you got a better bunk.
Pretty tight. That was metal.
So the one pharmacist on board that acted as an emergency surgeon?
Actually, I'm fairly comfortable. Do you guys have like a blanket and pillow or no?
We went up in San Diego. We were there for 2 weeks, and then they were going to transfer first out to the ocean. So we got on the lure line. It was a luxury liner converted to a transport ship. And we
And so he had an anatomy book, and that picture, one of the pictures you
We,
can see where he's looking down at the anatomy book.
went down on the dock with a lieutenant.
I know, the storage we know was a long time
And
ago.
the chief there was a
But they couldn't find him. He wasn't sure.
panel board,
So it took him
and he had the information on there. So the lieutenant went up to him and said, "You got these guys to go on board." And the chief said, "Yeah, got your names right here. Follow me." So we went right through the hull,
determined he couldn't wait any longer.
and
The poor guy said, "Let's do it."
they got inside there, and they would go down, flight after flight after flight, about 6 of them, clear down, and here were bunks, just about that far apart,
Wow.
narrow ones. And he said, "This is where you guys will stay." His lieutenant said, "Well, just if I got a minute, these guys are submarine sailors and they don't live like that." He said,
That was another symphony.
so he said, "Everybody go back on top side." Chief said, "I don't know who the hell you know to get out of this, but this is all there is." So we get up there, and this lieutenant said, "You guys wait right here." And he went stomping up the dock, and about half an hour later, here he came back. And he had a manila envelope. Went up to that chief and said, "Now this is what we want." Chief looked at that and he says, "I don't know who the hell you know, but this is out of sight." Ted said, "Take it." And so he followed me. So we went down up through the main gangway up to the top quarters, and he took us to put 3 of us in a stateroom. Here we're in a nice plush stateroom with a bath and everything. And she said, "This isn't right." He said, "That's it, look at that sheet." And he had all the information. He said, "Okay." And so we went in, and right outside the door was a water faucet. In the morning, I heard a noise out there. So I opened this door, and here was a Marine with his helmet, and he was filling it with water. So I said, "Well, you got a hot head or something?" He said, "No, I'm going to take a bath." In that, he said, "Yeah, that's where we take our baths." So I said, would you like to have a shower? He said, yeah. And so I invited him in. He took a shower. And the next morning, there was 3 Marines out there. And so I let them in. And the next day, if there was 10, there was 20 out there. They all wanted to shower. So that was the end of that program.
What did the temperature get to down below? Was it very hot? It seems like it would
Well,
be.
sometimes you get pretty warm, but normally it's pretty comfortable.
Oh, okay.
It could be controlled easily.
Because, okay.
Yeah.
Did people get seasick on the boat ever?
I wish I hadn't asked that. I got on the first patrol on the Haddock. We left Midway, Iowa, and that old sub was this way and this way and up and down. It was a hurricane. We got right into it. And so I was on radio duty in the radio shack, and I got to rolled in there, and I got a little squeezy stomach. And so we had a wastebasket around thing with a salt lid so you could sit on it. I pulled that over by my chair and started spitting. And then the head cook come by and said, what's the matter, you got a problem? I said, I think I'm getting seasick. I had never had that problem before. He said, I'll take care of it. So pretty soon we came back with a great big dill pickle. And he said, you eat this thing. I said, what do you mean? It'll be worse. And he said, no, eat it. So I started chewing that thing. My nausea left. So I used that for a record to a lot of people going on the sea trip. Said, if you want to get seasick, be sure to have one of those pickles along. 'Cause it'll cure you.
Grandpa,
Yeah.
it says over here that you guys had dogs on the boat. Do you remember that?
The waste went under the seat there, and off to the left, I think you can see a round tank, or maybe it's this one over here. Be compressed air could be pumped into that. When you get through on this, you run water in it. And that faucet up there, there's the water, and there's a lever down beside it and closes the flapping thing inside there. You push that down and blow that air in there, so it all goes over.
How many bathrooms did you have on board?
Not a steam torpedo. I think that's a regular torpedo.
It's an electric torpedo.
It should be.
Yes. No, they roll them along this track, and they pull them in like block and tackle.
Try to catch you.
And these tubes are longer because they have to go past the propellers. There's only 4 of them in the front, we got 6 of them. Once they pull it in there,
Well, let's see, we had this target close to the shore of Japan, and we were close to shore. And so, but we had these little, okay, they were smaller than this one, but they could be released just by blowing some air in a torpedo tube, and they go out, and their air compression inside would propel them. They had sonic attraction deal. So if they got so close to a target, propeller noise, they would just follow it. And one experience of that was on a Haddock, and we had a new skipper on board, and I didn't, this was only patrol run midway, so I was on the sound gear up in the conning tower, and I could follow the target noise, and then I could also follow the torpedo noise. And I could hear it kind of melding. The torpedo noise was joining with the target noise. I just kept following the target, and nothing happened. And the skipper said, well, you lost him. I said, no, I could hear them both. And he said, well, they don't go that long without exploding. I said, well, there's going. So he said, you're screwed up. So he went down the conning tower, and I heard him finding these screw noises melded. Went together as one. Pretty soon, kaboom! Had an explosion, and it was a long time after they normally would have taken. So he kind of badmouthed me as he was going down to the control room. And when I came down, he talked to the officers down there, and he said, well, here he comes. So I came down, he came up, grabbed my shoulders and apologized for badmouthing me on the target things. It was one of those freak things that happened.
It's probably the ship saw the torpedo and was trying to get away from it. It could probably just go a little bit faster than the torpedo maybe or something.
It could have, but anyway, we got the target.
Right up the tailpipe.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Out of our 52 submarines we lost 2 of them because of our own electric acoustical torpedoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very disappointing when that happened.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about the cream of wheat in the intake or whatever?
Yeah, forget about that.
So how was the surprise with the boys and the family?
I couldn't believe it. All this nice family come to see me.
Did not miss it.
Well, we've known about it for weeks, and every time we thought about it, we'd get choked up, and it was just heck yesterday trying not to give it away.
I couldn't believe it.
Denise would look at me and get all winky and smiley, and I'd say, no! I'm Brian Hughes, guys. I'm the executive director here.
Oh, thank
And
you
got
for
a
making
chance
this
to
so
spend,
special.
time